Hi friends, and welcome to my very binge-worthy romance reads to read for Valentine's Day. I'm a huge fan of romance books and I love to read them around Valentine's Day. I love to recommend them around Valentine's Day just to get you in that fun romance mood. I have read and loved all 10 of these books and I want more people to read them and love them and to have something really cute and fun to read for Valentine's Day. Let's get into these 10 books to read and I hope that you find one that you haven't read yet. The first book that I have to recommend to you is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. This book came out last February and I read it around then and I really loved this and it made me fall in love with B.K. Borison's writing. But this book is dual POVs between our female main character and our male main character. So our male main character is the host of this radio talk show that kind of gives relationship and dating advice, but his own relationships and dating are pretty much non-existent, so he feels very disqualified, he feels very uninspired by this show, and he is just like not loving his job at the moment. And then our female main character, she is a single mom and she is a hopeless romantic, but one day her daughter calls in to the radio show and asks for advice to help get her mom back out in the dating world. But her mom hears her on the phone and tells her that she needs to go to bed instead. But then she ends up on the phone with the radio talk show and basically everyone who is listening in loves her. She goes viral and they invite her to come on the show with our male main character, and then they start to work together and spend a lot of time together. And it is such a fun and cute little romance to read. The second book comes out late February as well, so now is the perfect time to read this book, and I really enjoyed this book and I highly recommend it. The next book that I have to recommend to you is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a really cute rom-com that I absolutely adored and I read last year. It's actually about a married couple and they're kind of like in this rut. They still love each other and want to be together and want to work to be together, but they are definitely just having a lot of problems. And one day they decided to kind of go on this like little camping retreat for couples to reconnect and rekindle their relationship. And they go on this trip and there's just like a lot of funny little moments where they're not very much into it and then finally kind of start to accept the camping trip that they're on. And I really love this book. I thought it was just like different than all the other rom-coms I read because you rarely ever read a book about a married couple trying to kind of like rekindle their relationship. And I just really loved that sort of aspect of the story. I think it is still like an important story to tell in the romance world of just married couples who are just trying to figure it out and be happy with each other. I thought it was really cute and it was a really good book to read if you are married yourself and want something to relate to. The next book that I have is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. Now, a lot of people had a lot of strong opinions on this book. I personally loved this book. It also came out last year in 2025, and I don't know what it was about the winter 2025 and all the amazing rom-coms that came out, but there were so many good ones and I was just eating it up, and this was definitely one of them that I really loved. Basically, this follows our female main character and she is a diver on the swim team, and then the male main character, he is like the team captain and he is a swimmer on their team, and they are both really good. They are both like about to qualify for the Olympics, and our female main character has just kind of like kept her head down and really has been trying to focus on her studies and trying to get into the Olympics. But then she finds out that she shares kind of similar interests with the male main character in this book, and they basically kind of form this friendship and alliance and have this little fling together, and it turns very steamy, it turns very good, and I really love this one. I know a lot of people did not like it, and honestly, as I'm talking about it, I kind of want to reread it. It just is such a fun book for me, and I thought it was just like different. I haven't really read a book where they're both like swimmers, and so I thought that was a really fun little aspect of the book. Highly recommend you read this one for Valentine's Day season. Coming in at number 4, I have 2 more books by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm combining the 2 of them because they both kind of go together. These are the only romance books on this list that are kind of paranormal and have something that's different than just regular romance, and they are Bride and Mate, both by Ali Hazelwood. I love these 2 books so much. This one is a vampire werewolf romance, and this is a like half werewolf and a werewolf romance, and they're both just so much fun. They introduced me to Omegaverse, and I still have more to read in that sort of genre of books, but I am definitely very interested in the Omegaverse after reading these 2. But basically both these books kind of have like political turmoil between vampires, humans, and werewolves, and you see how all that comes into play in these 2 books. Especially in this first one, you see more of the politics in this book, but these are both just like really fun, kind of spicy little romances that are incredibly quick to read, and I just loved both of them for Valentine's Day season. Like, they kind of give fall vibes, but I think that they are so much fun to read during the season, and will definitely have you feeling all the swoony romance mood. So I highly recommend these two books. And clearly I love Ali Hazelwood so much. She writes just some of the most fun books that I've ever read, and they're all so funny. Like, I am laughing out loud when I read these, and especially these two books were just really funny in general too. So if you need a good laugh, these are definitely some good ones. For number 5, I have an entire series that I love so much. I read them all again last year, and I just like think about this series all the time, and it is the Windy City series by Liz Tomforty. Oh my gosh, I just am obsessed with this series so much. I cannot wait for more books by Liz Tomforty, but these are all sports romance books. Our first one is Mile High, and that's a hockey romance. The second one is The Right Move, and that is a basketball romance. The third one is Caught Up, and that's a baseball romance. The fourth one is Play Along, and that's also a baseball romance. And then the last one is Rewind It Back, and that is another hockey romance. And they are all interconnected. You see all the previous couples as you go through the rest of the series, and they just start to feel like your family. You just fall in love with all of these characters. A lot of people don't love the first one, Mile High, as much, but I personally still really liked it, and the character development that was in this book. That is one thing about this series, is that all these characters have really good character development, and they really come out of their shells in this book, and I just love this series with my whole heart. I cannot recommend it enough. Every single person that I recommend this series to loves it so much. It is spicy, so just so you know before going into it that there is a lot of scenes like that, but other than that, it is just the most perfect series in my opinion. All of them are either 4 stars or higher, and I just love them. I'm obsessed with them, and I hope that you read this series if you haven't yet, because you will love it if you are a romance lover. For number 6, I have Fake Skating by Lynn Painter. This is Lynn Painter's newest book that has come out, and it is a YA romance. It is the only YA romance that I have on this list, but I think that it is still worth reading as an adult, even though it is a YA romance. I love Lynn Painter so much. She writes the cutest, like cheesiest little romances, and they're so quick to read. I read them within like a few hours. She can just really pull you into the character's mind and makes you feel all of their giddy little feelings, and I love that about her writing. And I actually met her in person a few years ago, and she was just the sweetest and nicest author, and it just made me love her books even more. But Fake Skating I read back in September as an ARC read, and I'm so excited that I got this book as an ARC book because I loved it so much. So it is about 2 teenagers, and our female main character is moving back to Minnesota to go live with her grandfather and her mom. Her parents just got a divorce, but her dad was in the military, and so they were moving around a lot as kids. But during the summers, she would always end up back in Minnesota where her childhood best friend lived. They had a really strong friendship growing up, but then something happens and they stop being friends. But now she's moving back to this town and is going to be going to school with him. And now he is like the popular guy at school. He is the hockey team captain, and everybody loves him, but they kind of had this little feud going on. So it's kind of like friends to enemies to lovers in this book. And it is just so cute. She ends up being one of the team managers of his hockey team, and she has the best time with that. She's just kind of learning it to navigate her new life with this, and also just trying to navigate her feelings for him. And it is so cute. I loved it so much. And Lynn Painter just does not write a bad book in my mind. All of her books are so sweet, and I highly recommend Fake Skating, especially if you need something that is lower on the spice level. There's no spice because it's a YA book. So very cute, and I highly recommend you read this one. The next book that I have is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is one of my favorite romances of all time. Like, I think about this book all the time, and I went back and read my review for this book when I read it years ago, and even my review just made me re-love it all over again because of all the feelings it gave me while I was reading it. Basically, it's about this woman, and she is going through some grief. Her aunt just passed away, and her aunt left her very fun apartment to live in, and so she goes and moves in this apartment. She quickly finds out that this apartment kind of has these magical powers to take you back in time, and so it takes her back 7 years in the past, and her aunt was actually renting out this apartment to this man. And basically she walks in and there's this man in her apartment, and they spend this weekend together, really get to know each other and fall for each other. And then she is taken back 7 years in the future, and he has remembered her this whole time. He hasn't seen her in 7 years, and she literally just saw him. There is a lot of topic of grief in this book, but it was such a beautiful story. The romance was incredible, and I just really, really loved this book. There are some amazing quotes in this story, and I want to reread this book so badly. So I think that is something that I will definitely be doing this year, just because I loved it so much, and I highly, highly recommend this book. It is one of the best romance books that there is, in my opinion. Number 8 on my list is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This was the very first Abby Jimenez book that I tried, and I fell in love with this book. I fell in love with her writing, and it kind of sent me down this rabbit hole to read more of her books. But honestly, I think Part of Your World is her strongest book that she has written, and it's probably some of her best writing in this book. It follows our female main character, and she is a doctor. Her parents want her to be a surgeon because they are a whole family of surgeons, and they want her to be one of their world-renowned surgeons, but she really wants to be an ER doctor. She is currently working as an ER doctor in this small town where she meets the male main character, Daniel, and he's about like 10 years younger than her, so it is an age gap romance, and he is a carpenter, and basically they kind of start to have feelings for each other. They run into each other a lot, and it turns out to just be this really cute and sweet romance where she kind of comes into her own and is really trying to fight to be this ER doctor that she wants to be, fight for her love for a man who is just a carpenter. Even though that is still a good job, her parents do not see that as a good job. What I love about this book too is that it's not just a romance, it's a book about a woman kind of finding herself and becoming who she wants to be. So I love that aspect of the book. And Abby Jimenez just has this way of writing that makes you really addicted and want to binge all of her books. So I highly recommend Part of Your World and starting there. And then you can read the 2 books that are after it in the Interconnected Standalone series, and the 2 that are after it are Yours Truly and Just for the Summer, which are both really fun and really good romance books to read as well during this Valentine's Day season. For number 9, I have the Lakefront Billionaires series by Lauren Asher. And I love this series so much. I've only read the first 2 books. The 3rd book is out. I still need to read it. We have Love Redesigned and Love Unwritten, but specifically I want to talk about Love Redesigned because this was the first Lauren Asher book that I read, and it made me fall in love with her writing, and I love these 2 characters in this book so much. It is a very thick romance book. I think it's like 500 to 600 pages, so there is kind of that aspect of the story, but I was still really addicted to this book and flew through it. Yeah, there's 519 pages, so quite a long read for a romance book, but I still really loved it. It is about childhood rivals who are kind of coming together in this story. Our female main character is an interior designer, and then our male main character has been kind of like renovating a lot of homes in their small town that they live in by Lake Wisteria. And our male main character presents our female main character with an offer as she is moving back to the small town after a broken engagement that she is going through. And they decided to work together to renovate this very beautiful house. She's going to be the interior designer, and they really start to work together. They're getting to know each other again. They both have a lot of mental health aspects in this book, and they really work together to get through all those mental health things. And I loved that in this book. I thought it made the 500 pages worth it, and the 500 pages were just so quick to get through. So I highly recommend this book. I thought it was a beautiful story. And then for number 10, I have a very fun little rom-com to share with you guys, and that is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I love this book so much. It is one of the funniest and cutest books that I have ever read, and it is definitely one of my favorite rom-coms. It is a very short book, very quick read. I just felt like it gave it so much in such a short little book, and I loved it so much. Our 2 characters are college exes, and he is now an NFL player, and she is a sports agent. He has recently lost his agent, and so she gets paired up with him to be his agent. They have no idea that they're exes, but she really, really needs this job, and they kind of do everything that they can to make this agent and athlete relationship work together. And basically they end up in a lot of trouble, and it literally plays out like a rom-com that you would watch on a movie from the early 2000s. Basically, there is just like a fake marriage that happens, and just all these really funny and cute things that happen that make you fall in love with these 2 characters so much. They're both very silly, very goofy, and it was just such a fun little book that had me giggling and kicking my feet the whole time. And I highly recommend the audiobook of this. I thought the audiobook was very fun. It is definitely something that I want to reread at some point because I love this book so much, and it'll be perfect to read for the Valentine's Day season along with all of Sarah Adams' other books. They're all very cute, very quick to read, and little to no spice. So if you like that in a book, you will love her books. And those are the 10 romance books that I have to recommend for Valentine's Day. I really hope that you found a book that you haven't read yet and that you want to read, because this is the perfect time to be reading some rom-coms in the winter season. I definitely love to read rom-coms right now, and then again in the summertime. I feel like they just make the most perfect summer reads. So highly recommend all 10 of these, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!